Welcome, wrestling fans. Welcome to Curtain Jerkin. As always, I'm your host, Jacob Grondy, reporting for the Main Event Marks YouTube channel and the Dragon Suplex Podcasting Network. This has been a giant few days in the world of pro wrestling. It's a jam-packed show today, and we're going to kick things off talking about Conor McGregor. I know it's not pro wrestling, but we talk about UFC if this is your first time listening. We talk about Bellator sometimes. We'll talk about celebrity boxing sometimes. And of course, we're going to be talking about the biggest sports entertainer in the UFC, Conor McGregor, coming back in early 2023 against Justin Gaethje. Moving to welterweight because he's so fucking jacked now. I'm excited. You love a Conor fight. That's when the casual UFC fans come into play. And the casual UFC fans is like the outermost realm of combat sports aficionados. Like when you cut down a tree and you see all the rings from the years and years of tree growth, that last rung where the bark starts is the common UFC or the casual UFC fan. He brings all those rings together. He brings all the way out, come together. I remember my sister and her friends threw a party one time, had a bunch of pizza. You went downstairs and someone who's really rich's basement, and my sister never watches wrestling, never watches UFC, but she invited me to a party because Conor McGregor was fighting. So that's a big of a deal that Conor fighting is, and that's what's cool about him fighting. WWE Raw was pretty cool. I mean, you got guys from Honor No More, formerly of Ring of Honor, Vincent and Dutch, and Matt Taven backstage, or Vincent and Dutch were backstage at Raw. Matt Taven rumored to be going to WWE as well. This is a good piece to a faction, I think, Vincent and Dutch. But I think, with Bray and Judgment Day and Dexter Lumis, I think there's a lot of spooky gimmicks. So if they were going to be a part of a spooky gimmick, I would welcome them in with open arms to WWE. But if they're going to try to start the Kingdom revamped again, that's way too many spooky gimmicks. So maybe they're a part of this Wyatt 6 or something like that. That would be cool. But, them coming in as just plain wrestlers too doesn't really excite me either. So I think I want them as a part of the Wyatt 6 because it looks like Judgment Day is kind of going a direction and Lumis is kind of better on his own. You don't want a faction of stalkers. That's just kind of creepy. You'd have to get like a whole army to stop that shit. So I do want them part of the Wyatt 6. And of course, we'll be talking more about Bray Wyatt as we move along in the podcast. We're going to be also talking about Seth Rollins winning the U.S. title. Why not keep it on Lashley? Then, you put the title on Brock. You never really know what to do with the U.S. title anyways. Brock's never there. He could win it, and it could be a big deal, kind of like when John Cena won the U.S. title. But no, it's kind of cool to see Rollins with the title. I think this might be his first time holding the U.S. championship. Is this a grand slam? Did he hit a grand slam here, winning every title you can in the WWE, including, he was NXT champ. Of course, he was world champ. He was tag champs with Roman back in the Shield days. And I want to say he was IC champ at least once. So I think this might be a grand slam for him. The Good Brothers returned to WWE, teaming up with AJ Styles to go up against Judgment Day. That's a lot more interesting than the Bullet Club glory run they were doing in New Japan. I hope they let him drop the Never title in New Japan and then come on over to the WWE. That would be more interesting because just kind of giving up the Never title would cause maybe for a tournament, and they're already doing a tournament for that bullshit new title. So the Never title kind of has lost its way. So I think just kind of keeping up with the lineage and having the Good Brother, true to its name, Carl Anderson, just pass the title on more so than just dropping the title. I hope. Vince would never have done it. Let's see how cool Triple H is. Triple H was pretty cool 25 years ago, and they showed that on Raw DX Reunion. It kind of sucked. The jokes were fucking lame. These guys rehashing the same shit. I'd rather be Billy Gunn as a part of something new that can get a pop in front of 5,000 people than rehashing the same shit that happened a quarter century ago for 8 to 10,000 people. I'd rather be Billy Gunn here. There's been so many of these reunions. It seems like every year they trot out DX, they trot out Taker for some reason. Maybe Stone Cold comes back every few years. But I'm tired of this shit. Old school Raws. They've just lost or luster. They've been done too many times. I'm not tired of the Bloodline, though. This shit with Sami Zayn really cracking me up here. Sami starting to piss off Jey Uso was hilarious. Riddle coming out, kind of killing the tension between those two for a little bit, but ended up talking himself into a match with Sami Zayn just because he said the word yeet. Yeet. What a ridiculous thing that's happened in pop culture, that phenomenon existing. That being said, it is a Bloodline thing. Sami took exception to Riddle saying it, and then Jey Uso kind of egged it on into a match. Funny spot here, best part of Raw. There was no Bray on Raw, but there was Bray on Extreme Rules. Oh my God. He came out at the very end. That was risky. I could see the Philly crowd turning on the whole damn show if they didn't get Bray. I kind of heard about Bray coming out before I even watched the show, so the whole time I was watching, I was like, did I miss it? Did I miss it? But the matches were good enough to keep the crowd invested. They did a good job getting everyone interested in the return with the QR codes and whatnot and all the little clues. Now it's time to see what they could do to keep people's interest in the possible reveal of who these characters are. Are they wrestlers? Are they like parts of Bray Wyatt's mind? I don't know. It was still pretty sick, sick little pop he had. The little 8-bit white rabbit thing that happened during the entrance of the first match was kind of cool. And this whole storyline up until this point is really cool. I mean, you got to look past like the ridiculous characters and the masks and everything, kind of because they're playing homage to the Family Funhouse characters that I kind of enjoyed because that was outside the box, but this was kind of outside the box for even that. And then all this talk about Vincent and Dutch and who are these guys, and people talking about Liv Morgan and Alexa Bliss, Baron Corbin, all being brought up. People think that one of the guys in the mask was Baron Corbin, but Baron Corbin obviously has tattoos. The guy, at least wearing that mask there at Extreme Rules, did not have tattoos. I don't know what's going on here. I'm intrigued for now. He did not appear on Raw, but he is going to appear on SmackDown, and we're going to have to find out what the fuck is going on with all of that. But breaking down every single one of these matches from worst to first. Number 6, Cross versus Drew. This was an okay match on a good show. They did a good job bringing Scarlett into play until the pepper spray. That was kind of lame, but they had to keep Drew strong, and they could not have had Cross lose. So I guess that's where you go with that. Ronda versus Liv, 5 out of 6. This match was way better than I thought it would be, but still pretty sloppy. I talk a lot of shit about Ronda, but the legit background here that she has made this ending good. Liv is over as hell. That's why I think she had a good title run, but that title run is over now. They kind of have to start shooting and going the trajectory of Mania, even though it's October, but you got 6 months to kind of get there. And, she had a good run here. When Ronda won and the crowd was booing, I thought this little promo she cut was good too, where she says, "This is not for you, it's for me." So maybe Ronda's winning me over here. I don't know. I don't watch much of her because I was so turned off over the years. But I think this match, she kind of might have sold me choking out the champion and winning gold. Number 4 out of 6, Bianca and Bayley, the first ladder match ever for the women's title. Bianca is even more over than Liv. She can go with like a legitimate attribute that is her strength. And that's something that casual fans can get behind and not feel silly for liking. Like, well, she is legit strong. Like, that's, casual fans kind of always like Mark Henry for that reason, or just like kind of like the big guys because they knew they were legit strong, or the tall guys because they were obviously tall. She is legitimately a super athlete, and, You know, she's attractive, she's got a good look, and she can go in the ring. Bianca Belair strapped the rocket to her like they're doing. She won the title, or retained the title here. Number 3 out of 6, Edge versus Finn. This match was good, but overbooked as hell. Anything with Ray and Dominic is good, though. Edge brawling is boring. This almost hit Randy and Edge in the PC era WrestleMania here before they started getting back in the ring and getting everyone involved here. Rhea versus Beth Phoenix. I mean, I don't know if they can hold it to Mania, but I can definitely see this shit on a Survivor Series. I can see this shit as a part of the War Games in Survivor Series, or maybe even a match of Royal Rumble. I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, you got Survivor Series, and then you got the Women's Rumble. So why not take it all the way to WrestleMania here? You got big matches that you could promote, you know, this match within those matches. Then you have Matt Riddle versus Seth Rollins. Daniel Cormier as a special guest referee in the Fight Pit match. This gimmick match is cool. The cage needed a little refreshing here. I thought the platforms they had in Ring of Honor back in the day in like 2003 were cool, allowing for some high spots. But then it's even cooler here with them just full on like platforms. I guess I call them platforms, but they were platforms in the corner. Now this is a platform that goes around the whole ring, kind of like a scaffold match. Especially when Rollins hit the buckle bomb type maneuver into the cage. I thought that was awesome. And then the floating bro off the top was awesome. Big win for Riddle here. That's why it's number 2 out of 6. But number 1 out of 6 is the Brutes versus Imperium. The very first match on the show was the best match on the show. Like the intro in the Cruiserweight divisions on Nitro, where they would kick off the show with like Dean Malenko and Rey Mysterio, and that would just steal the show for me. This match stole the show for me. They did a good job showcasing the chaos and building to the two leaders coming to a head here. Whenever they would fight each other, there was a bunch of shit that happened to where they would brawl with each other, and I thought that was done super, super well. Sheamus got the victory, and got the win back. Just like I said would happen here too. I got to kind of pat myself on the back here. WWE Extreme Rules, the show was good, but no match was as good as the Bound for Glory main event here. Of course, Bound for Glory, Impact Wrestling's biggest show of the year. It's their WrestleMania. It's their Wrestle Kingdom. It's their All Out. It's their, Mox and Nick Gage title versus career. It's all that shit rolled into one. It's UFC 100, 200, 300, whatever. But it didn't seem like that this year. Not a lot of build to it, but I did enjoy it. Masha Slamovitch versus Jordan Grace was also good. At one point, they were doing a strike for strike thing, kind of like you see with the forearm. But then here lately, I've seen a lot of wrestlers, like one guy would do a forearm, the other guy would do like a punch to kind of, you know, put their characters over, put like how they would strike somebody. But here, Masha Slamovitch hit a kick, and Jordan Grace would just pick up and slam her. Kind of like, I don't know, kind of revealing that Jordan Grace's slams don't really affect her opponent that much. I figured a slam would be more than a kick, but I don't know where I'm really even going with this. This is the first time I've seen anything like this. Grace got the victory. She's great, but I have to say I've watched this match because I've been following Masha Slamovitch for a little bit now. She competed in the Cannabis Cup, a women's tournament, about a year ago, and then she popped up in NWA. Then she popped up in Impact. A lot of upside to her. Continue following her if you aren't, or if you are, and then start doing it if you aren't. But let's talk about this main event, guys. Eddie Edwards versus Josh Alexander. Two guys who I feel like have been kind of overlooked. I mean, Eddie Edwards had that big Ring of Honor world title run like 15 years ago now. Josh Alexander, he was a big part in the tag team The North in Impact Wrestling before Ethan Page, his partner, went to AEW. So I think, like Impact, they had a lot to prove here, and they were put on this big stage for them to show off. Eddie Edwards messing with a Ric Flair cosplayer in the front row, getting heat, throwing his wig into the rafters. and then rips the mat off, exposing the wooden floor. Crowd behind the champ, Josh Alexander. Diehard driver to the floor. Backpack stunner in the ring. 1, 2. No. Alexander kicks out. And then Eddie Edwards turns it right into a single leg Boston Crab. I love this fucking spot. I love it when Samoa Joe does it. I love it when anyone does it. Who's talking to me right now? It's someone not important. It's someone that's not Josh Alexander and Eddie Edwards, I'll tell you that much. And then Alexander hits a German on the apron, stays locked in, hits a German on the floor, stays locked in, walks his ass up the ramp, and hits a German on the ramp. I thought that spot was pretty cool. Blue Thunder Bomb to Alexander. Alexander kicks out. Alexander hits a C4 spike. Eddie Edwards kicks out. The Honor No More faction that Eddie Edwards leads, where pretty much most of these people are rumored to go to WWE, who are from Ring of Honor, who are joining Impact for a little bit over a year now, come running out. Edwards gets the upper hand because of it. Champ kicks out. Alexander counters a kick when he's on the top rope by catching Eddie Edwards into an ankle lock while up on the top rope. I've never seen that before. That was pretty fucking cool. I don't remember seeing it before. Tiger driver from Eddie Edwards. 1, 2. Alexander kicks out. Bitch slap battle for the ages. Alexander bleeding the hard way, probably because he got bitch slapped in the face numerous times by his opponent. Right in the center of the face too. Bleeding from his mouth and his nose. Both working snug as fuck the whole match. This is awesome as hell. C4 spike. 1, 2, 3. The champ retains. This was a great match. This match has convinced me to give Impact a chance. I will review the next episode of Impact Wrestling on the next episode of Curtain Jerkin that I do. Bully Ray comes out, and they chase pretty much both Honor, both him and Alexander chase Honor No More away, put one of them through a table or whatever. It looks like they're heading toward Bully Ray versus Alexander. This match doesn't excite me, but Bully did have a sick run with that Impact title a few years ago. So, I mean, why not put over the new champ with a legendary champ? Unlike they did on Raw. Now that I'm thinking about it, they have so many new current guys that DX could work with. Why didn't they have at least one of those guys work with DX here? Instead of them just coming out and saying the old tired lines that, hasn't been over since like 2002. A lot of people don't really remember that DX kind of faded away. Like, sure, it was 25 years ago, but like 20 years ago, it was pretty much just, I think, X-Pac and Road Dogg tag team and saying the same shit. Like, it stopped being cool 20 years ago. And it was, and they're rehashing 25 years ago. I mean, X-Pac, great wrestler for his day. Road Dogg, great mind. Triple H and Shawn Michaels, great workers, great minds. But come on, do some new shit. That's why I think it's cool to be Billy Gunn. Sure, Billy Gunn couldn't be on Raw, but he's doing some new cool shit. So, I don't know. I'm going to stop talking about the DX reunion here because I'm going to start talking about the GCW Fight Club, Mox versus Gage, title versus career. This was a little interesting here because Mox was not supposed to have the AEW title, but because of all the shit that happened with the Elite and CM Punk, someone had to have the title, so they asked Moxley to come back from vacation. He won the tournament, and here he is holding the AEW title after this title versus career match was booked. So on a shoot, Nick Gage isn't going to fucking retire, so they don't want to have that happen. GCW just signed Nick Gage to an exclusive deal, but, Tony Khan's not going to have his champion go to some outlaw mud show and look like a fool to some guy who can barely fucking move. So what's going to happen here? The setting was crazy. This was on a New Jersey boardwalk. I think it was like under 50 degrees here. You can see the crowd's breath just in the air. It's just like a smoke-filled, dark atmosphere to this whole show. The setting made it. The atmosphere made it. Crowd super behind Nick Gage. The crowd and the atmosphere, is just what made this match watchable. Mox comes out. The crowd hates him, calling him Ambrose, saying, fuck Ohio. This is like a leftover chant from a heel group that since left the company, 440. But it works for Moxley because he's from Ohio. Nick Gage comes out. Staple mosh pit entrance. If you haven't seen this entrance, go out of your way to watch it. Literally, it gets as hype as, you're the craziest, like, Travis Scott or Rage Against the Machine concert you can think of. People are jumping up and down. They're playing Metallica. people are into it. But much like the Ultimate Warrior in the 1980s and Liv Morgan every Friday night on SmackDown, the bell has to ring, and then you notice that the fucking god of this shit can barely fucking move. I don't know why he's as over as he is. I've started watching GCW in like 2018, and he was already over. There's guys that do everything he's doing, and I guess he's got a cool story and everything, but I don't get it. I gotta say, I don't get it. But he's super over. So much like Liv Morgan, you kind of just have to understand this is why he's getting this push, is because he's this over. Mox puts him in the headlock and yells, "I got him now," like George Two-Ton Harris from the Mid-Atlantic. Light tubes come into play. Pizza cutters come into play. Stokely, Hatley, and Morrissey come into play. They attack Mox, softening him up for MJF. I guess that's how they got Tony Khan to agree with this, is kind of having an interference with his guys. Nick Gage kicks out at first. Moxley kicks out at first and then gets hit with the choke breaker. Nick Gage wins 1, 2, 3. So, I mean, it kind of wasn't Morrissey and Stokely as much as it was Nick Gage. I guess Nick Gage would get a little heat winning the way that I guess Tony Khan perceived it for it to go. But that's kind of like, I don't know. You know, I'm not sitting in on the phone calls and the meetings with these guys, but it does seem like Morrissey and Stokely were there to make, to wrap it all up and bring it back to AEW and not have Moxley look so weak losing to Nick Gage. But him kicking out, I know, Tony Khan is a fan of the 2 counts, but I don't think he would have been a fan of that 2 count right there. Choke breaker. That's a pretty hardcore move. Starts like a choke slam, ends with a backbreaker over the knee. I know I've been talking a lot of shit about Nick Gage, but his finisher is sick, and the crowd loves him. The ring just fills up with GCW wrestlers at the end of it, all celebrating that the god of this shit is now the champ of this shit. The setting made it, like I said multiple times. The match sucked in ring, and Tony making sure his champ looks strong when he is, kind of bailing him out altogether with everything that's happening, and he's coming back from vacation. Like, why not just let him have this little outlaw mud show, so to speak, and put over someone that he respects? Like, it's really a fraction of your audience that watches GCW if you're AEW, and that fraction knows this shit's a work. So I would have just, not made too big of a deal of it and just had Jon Moxley lay down for Gage. I mean, you got barbed wire bats, you got light tubes, you got pizza cutters, you got panes of glass. You got so many reasons where Moxley would still look strong if he got thrown through or thrown at one of those, weapons. That I don't think you really need Stokely and Morrissey. And I think now you're stuck with having to talk about that match on your TV, which otherwise you could have just let it happen and not talked about it, and then it would have been fine. But I don't know, it's kind of convoluted booking when it didn't need to be convoluted. Sometimes that's good, like in New Japan. We're going to talk about the matches that happened in New Japan over the weekend, but first we got to talk about the New Japan TV title. This title looks like shit. First of all, the idea of a TV title is lame as fuck in 2022. Things are moving to the internet. Things are moving to computers and phones and shit. So to debut a television title in 2022, it just seems dated. Then you call it the television title, but you literally have your app logo on the middle of the main plate. I know TBS and TNT, they do that in AEW. That's kind of lame, but you get why they're doing it. It's because they're trying to continue to make money and partner with these large corporations. But here, you're just promoting your own app. You didn't have to do this shit. Isn't the world title promoting your own app? Isn't every title you have, and the fact that you have matches at all, promoting your own app? Why do you have a title that's only promoting your app? It's fucking ridiculous, the TV title in 2022. If there was some lineage, like, NWA had it, it would have been fine. Not to mention that there are just too many damn titles in New Japan to begin with. Half of them don't mean shit. The Never title doesn't mean shit anymore. as much as it hurts me to say, the 6-man titles don't matter. The U.S. title is just now starting to mean something. The heavyweight title means something, but looks as lame as hell since they've changed the title and design and they merged it with the IC title. So we will see how this tournament plays out, but I don't think this title is going to mean anything by the time Wrestle Kingdom comes around. And that's your next big show if you are New Japan. But, you know, the tournament looks good. I'm going to watch all these matches. I mean, in-ring of New Japan always is amazing. So you hooked me, guys. I'll watch great wrestling when the outcome is winning these silly titles. But as far as looks go, this thing is shit. It looks like if the NWA, like the Billy Corgan era NWA, had a comedy title. If this was the NWA's comedy title, I think it would be a perfect look. It's just ridiculous. But New Japan itself had two amazing main events here. Jonah versus Okada. Okada can't knock him down in the early going. They go to the outside. Okada gets thrown to the guardrails, but then he later uses the guardrails to his advantage, wrapping Jonah's knee into it and then drop kicking the guardrail. Jonah quickly regaining control. Okada still going after the leg. Okada scoop slams Jonah. Okada can't hit the Rainmaker. Gets hit with a German and a huge lariat. Strike battle, Rainmaker, 1, 2, 3, and then he poses like a Noki. Great finish here. You gotta love that shit. Setting the face to look strong going into Wrestle Kingdom. But who is the main face gonna wrestle? Is it Jay White or Tama Tonga? I mean, it's telegraphed there. You don't want two faces at Wrestle Kingdom. Tama Tonga, maybe next year, maybe down the line a little bit. But you know, this was definitely the biggest match of his career going up against Jay White. Bell sounds, they go right into it. It wasn't as good as the Okada match, but I'm an Okada mark. Jay White with the Boston Crab, and then he adjusted to the Lion Tamer. I thought that spot was awesome. Ref bump here. Gato and Jado go into it, but Gato gives White the chair. Tama Tonga gets the chair. Red Shoes is coming to, realizes that Tama Tonga has the chair, and he gives it to the referee here. He's the good guy, showcasing that he's the good guy. He's dressed like Iron Man in his cool entrance gear and ring gear. You kind of needed a spot like that here in this match to kind of showcase that he's a different person. You've been kind of trying to tell that story all year, but he's not in Bullet Club anymore. He's his own man, and he's a face now. But despite the gun stun out of nowhere, Switchblade hits the Blade Runner, 1, 2, 3. Okada comes out, and there it is. The Wrestle Kingdom main event is set. Okada versus Jay White. I wanted to talk about AEW partnering with Noah. Sting is going to be a part of Muda's last match. I don't know if there's any more partnering going on with those two. I mean, Timothy Thatcher, RVD, Keno, Nakajima would be really cool to see in AEW, and it would be really cool to kind of see maybe Daniel Bryan, Claudio, Wheeler Yuda. It'd be cool to see, you know, the Blackpool Combat Club go to Noah. It would be cool to see, Morrissey go to Noah and just be a big monster. It would be cool to see Jay Lethal go to Noah, Samoa Joe go to Noah. It'd be cool to see all these things. I don't know what this says about the partnership with New Japan and AEW. I'm losing my voice here. There's so much great wrestling. And I'm only going to talk about AEW a little bit here because, I mean, who's kidding who here? This shit's going up on Tuesday night. It's going to be dated news in a few hours. But Sammy Guevara and Andrade getting in a fight in the back. Andrade getting sent home after they had that Twitter beef last time we talked. I mean, why the hell were these guys not separated physically the entire time with security guards making sure that shit wasn't going down? How did they cross paths on a hallway for Andrade to get kicked out? I like Sammy. I think he's a great wrestler. But, I mean, this crowd, you know, giving their opinion on what they think about Sammy and stuff like that, calling him Dramara and everything, I think that's all silly. It kind of turns me off of the whole product, how that crowd reacted to Sammy Guevara there. But I have every match listed from Battle of the Belts, Rampage, and Dynamite here. I'm just going to read them off for you guys after I get a sip of my fucking tea. Here we go. The worst match out of all of AEW television this week. Woods and Nice versus the Varsity Blondes. I don't remember too much of it, but I think the Varsity Blondes is kind of a Cody thing, and I think they're pushing Woods and Nice. They both had blue and yellow tights on, so I think they might be a tag team here. They get the victory. Luchasaurus and Fuego. I mean, Luchasaurus just ran through Fuego. Jade versus Willow. I mean, better than I expected. It's not last place. It's 12 out of 14. Number 11, Ty and Anna Jay versus Sky and Reigns. Ty and Anna Jay always look good. That's probably why they got put at 11 and not 14. Number 10, Storm, Athena, Willow versus Deeb, Hayter, and Penelope. So Willow getting 2 matches here. None of them, or this one cracking the top 10 out of 14. I feel like all the good workers were on one side of this thing. Deeb and Hayter and Penelope. I don't even remember who wins this one. Hangman Page versus Roosh. I was super excited about this one, but it was kind of a letdown once it happened. It even got outshone by Brian Cage versus Wardlow. You need the big man battles here in AEW, and that was cool to see. Blackpool Combat Club and Private Party and Roosh. Roosh pulling double duty like Willow Nightingale here. Always cool to see. I like Roosh. Maybe the Hangman Page, maybe I need to see a little more of it. This match was pretty much to push the Blackpool Combat Club and to kind of continue the storyline of the reforming of Hardy Party despite Andrade's faction's best interest. Number 6 is Lethal versus Darby. Darby, what happened with him? His career kind of stalled here a little bit, and I feel like he was a pillar. I feel like all the pillars are in trouble. I mean, Jungle Boy seems to have stalled. Darby seems to have stalled. Guevara's got a lot of heat. What's going on with the pillars? Do they just know they're pillars and people are kind of they just get heat because of it? I don't know, but it was a great match. Number 5 out of 14, Dark Order versus Death Triangle. Death Triangle can't have a bad match. And then you had Pac pulling double duty as well. Or excuse me, Pac pulling double duty. Trent and Pac. Tupac, as they call him, because he's got 2 belts now. And number 3, Jericho and Guevara versus Danielson and Garcia. The main event of Dynamite sits at number 3 because number 2 is FTR versus Gates of Agony. I liked, Prince Nana's group here. Brian Cage, Gates of Agony. Brings some size into AEW, which is much needed here. Too bad Prince Nana's group all took L's. FTR, though, making TV. They're looking strong here. They're going all over the world defending these titles. I feel like they're more over than the AEW Tag Champs. And I know the AEW Tag Champs, is the Acclaimed right now, super over with their audience. But as far as a worldwide wrestling fan base, I think FTR is more over than them still. They definitely were more over than Swerve and Our Glory. And they were, I don't know what's going on where they say the Bucks don't want to wrestle them or something like that. That's a shame if it's true, but I would get why if you were the Young Bucks. You're supposed to be the cool heels, and then you're forced to wrestle in this, the high-flying manner you do, which would make you look silly with the actual cool heels being FTR. MJF versus Wheeler Yuda, best match on the card, first match on all of the cards. MJF is on a new level here, and when he has to go in the ring, he does go in the ring. I remember his match that he had with Moxley for the world title during the pandemic era was amazing. The match that he had with Darby Allin a few pay-per-views ago was amazing. When he has to go, he can fucking go in the ring. I know he doesn't have that many matches, but when he does have those 5-star classics, they're fucking 5-star fucking classics. But he's a story guy. He tells a story with his character and everything. So, I get it. He doesn't need to go out there and do a bunch of crazy shit to get over. He gets over on the mic, so he just has these classic matches in his back pocket here. He pulls it out when he needs to or when he wants to, and I guess he wanted to here with Yuta because this match was fucking solid. That was a lot of wrestling, guys. I'm literally losing my voice talking to you guys, but I love this shit. I love watching this shit. Let me know what you think about it in the comments, and fly high. I am out.